Now that we know how to define a color and store a color in a variable, and later use that color for defining the background color or the fill color or the stroke color, let's use the get function to read the color from a certain pixel on the screen. So to test that out, let's make a program that takes the screen and is going to fill this top part with some random colors generated by the noise function. And then what we'll do is have a look at where the mouse is, read the color of the pixel under the mouse, and use that color to fill this part here. So if the pixel is green, then all this part is going to be green. And as we move the mouse, the bottom part will always be filled with whatever color is under the mouse pointer. So let's go back to our program here, and I think we can just erase the whole program and start from scratch. So we're going to do here a setup function and a draw function. In the setup, we set the size of the screen. And we're going to need here a for loop inside a for loop. So we can come here and fill this screen pixel by pixel, or this top area, by different colors. We start from the top left and we move down, and every time we reach this bottom part here, then we move a little bit to the right, and column after column until we fill all this stuff here with random colors. So I'm gonna make here a for loop for int x is 0, while x is less than the width of the screen. Increase x by 1. And you can see that when we do this for loop inside a for loop, it looks simpler than when we used a while loop, because the while loop was spread over several lines. We declared the variable at some place, then we checked inside the while loop if the condition was true, and at the end of the while loop we increased the variable. Here it happens all in one line, so it looks much cleaner. So here let's start with y being equal to 0, while y is less than, let's say, 120, then increase y. And here we just have to write a point into x and y, and before that we should define the color. So for now we can just use random 255 to see that it's working. And I forgot one parenthesis here, and now, so there is our top random function. We can leave it like that for now, and later we can replace this random function by noise. The random version is simpler. Okay, so in our draw function, we're gonna keep looking at these variables, mouse x and mouse y. We want to know where the mouse is. And we're going to be using a function called get. Let's see in the reference what it says about get. See, get reads the color of any pixel or grabs a section of an image. In our case, we just want to read the color of any pixel, so we're gonna use it this way here. Get x, y, and this will return a color. So our x and y are mouse x and mouse y. So I'm gonna type here get mouse x, mouse y. And I will store this in a variable, so in a color variable, and I will call this color under mouse is equal to get mouse x, mouse y. This get function can give us the color of any pixel in the screen, and we're gonna store it inside this variable here. The next thing we're gonna do is draw a rectangle with that color. So I'm gonna use here fill color under mouse, and then draw a rectangle at position 0, 120. So we are reserving the top 120 pixels for this random area, and then the rest of the image we will fill with whatever color is under the mouse. So here we use now width, and what's the height? We could calculate it, or we can say here height minus 120. So this way is the full height of the screen minus the 120 pixels we reserved for the other area. We could also just calculate this, which is 400 minus 120, that's 280. So we could also type 280 here. So let's see what happens now when I run the program. You can see when I move the mouse up here, the color on the bottom is changing. If I stop moving the mouse, then the color doesn't change. The reason I would like to use noise instead is that the color change less from pixel to pixel, so otherwise this is blinking too fast on the bottom. So one way we could do this is define here 3 variables, RGB, and before we specify what are these variables, float R equals something, float G is something else, and float B is something else. And we could use the map function because we know that the noise returns a number between 0 and 1. So I say here between 0 and 1, and I want to have value between 0 and 255. This is gonna be identical for the green and the blue. So map noise 0, 1, 0, 255. And again, map noise 0, 1, 0, 255. And how do we calculate the noise now? We should use somehow X and Y. We know that X and Y are probably changing too fast, so we should divide this by certain numbers, like I will type here 30,0, divide by 30,0 also. And after the first parameter and the second parameter, I could type a third random parameter, for example here 10, so we don't get the same exact value for the green and the blue. If we get exactly the same value for red, green, and blue, then it's gonna be gray. And I wanted to have something more colorful. So I'm just gonna copy this thing here and write the exact same expression. Now we would get shades of gray because we are getting the exact same value for red, green, and blue. Let's try it out. And you can see up here that it is gray. If I change these numbers, the red, green, and blue will not match anymore. So now we should get something more colorful. And I'm going to try to divide this by a number larger, so the change is even more subtle. Okay, I like that. So now you can see how the color changes smoothly when I move the mouse. And the bottom part is telling me which is the current color under the mouse. So remember, anytime you want to read the color of a pixel, you use get and X and Y position. And this will tell you what color that pixel is. You can specify fixed numbers like 100, 200, or if you use mouse X and mouse Y, then you can find out the color under the mouse.